How do cars shape our world? It sounds like a simple question, but to answer it, we need to go back, way back, before cars, before motorways, before the idea of driving even existed. It all starts here, with an invention that didn't even move. In the 1760s, James Watt built a steam engine, not to power a car, but to pump water out of mines. That steam engine kick-started the Industrial Revolution. It powered factories, fueled production, and quite literally changed the world. But then, someone asked a new question. What if we could make it move? In 1814, George Stephenson built the first full-scale working steam locomotive. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't fast, but it worked. And it turned steam power into transportation. For the first time, people and goods could move quickly across entire countries. But steam didn't stop there. By the mid-1800s, factories ran on steam. Ships crossed oceans on steam. Cities filled with smoke. The world was moving faster. But it was also getting dirtier. Then, in 1885, something changed. Carl Benz introduced the patent motor wagon, the first practical automobile. It wasn't built for factories or railways. It was built for people. A new kind of freedom, personal, private, and powered by a combustion engine. But the real revolution didn't happen until 1908, when Henry Ford launched the Model T, the first car for the masses. Suddenly, the car wasn't a luxury. It was everywhere, and that changed everything. Cities expanded, highways appeared, entire economies grew around the car. By the 1950s, the car wasn't just a machine anymore, and over the decades it got bigger, faster, louder. It shaped how we lived, where we worked, how we built our cities. But it also shaped something else. Air pollution, congestion, communities divided by endless roads. So now, we're trying to fix it. Enter electric vehicles, cleaner, quieter. A solution, or at least that's the idea. But here's the catch. Those cars still need electricity, and building them still requires mining for minerals like lithium and cobalt. So, the real question isn't just how do cars shape our world? It's how much of that world are we willing to reshape, to keep driving? Because sometimes, to move forward, we need to look back at how we got here.
Let's get straight into it. Open Canva and create a new design. Let's select a landscape video crop in keeping with the standard YouTube formatting. Before we start designing, let's dial in our color palette. This is what I have selected. It's similar to what Vox uses, but I would encourage you to formulate your own palette to stay unique. I will leave a prompt in the description to get you started. With the color palette selected, let's change the background color of our canvas. Now let's select a main font. I have chosen a classic serif font for this composition called Georgia Pro. Now let's type out the opening title for the video, How Do Cars Shape Our World? And set the casing to uppercase. Open the spacing panel and reduce the line spacing slightly, then position the text layer to the center of the canvas. Open the Elements tab and search for Organic Scribble Line. Select this one and place it below a word you would like to highlight. Change the color to a suitable one from your color palette. Next, press L on your keyboard to create a line shape and resize it like so. Open the Line Style panel, set the weight to 9 and the style to dashed. Hold Alt and make a duplicate like so, then repeat this process until you form a box around the writing. Open the Elements tab and search for Hand-Drawn Ford Car. Select this one, resize it, and center it above the writing like so. At this point, you can duplicate the top line and position it directly over the original. Crop the top one from right to left and do the opposite with the bottom one until you have a gap in the middle for the car to rest in. Open the Elements tab and search for Hand-Drawn Globe. Select this one, place it below the writing, and do the same to the dashed lines to leave space around it. Open the Elements tab. select the Animations filter and search for Green Organic Grid. Select this one and place it on the corner of the canvas. You will find similar elements that can be added to the other corners. Time to add some texture. In the Elements tab, search for Dust Texture. Select this one and place it on the canvas like so. The key here is to set it to the same color as the background, so it gives the impression that only the elements are textured. Now hold Alt and cover the full canvas with the texture by creating a grid. When you are ready, hold Shift, select all of the layers and group them together. At this point, you can open the Layers panel and move any elements you don't want textured above the group layer. And let's add one more dashed line below the globe image to set up our exit animation. We'll get to the animations later. Let's move on to our next timeline scene. Copy the line you just created and paste it onto a new page. Enlarge it to the full height, but make sure to keep it aligned with the original by pressing Shift while you do so. Let's create our timeline marker by pressing C to create a circle shape. Downsize to the size that fits well over the timeline and give it a thick border weight. Change the border color to the green that we chose earlier and select the background color as the main color. Add some grid elements around the edges like before and type out the year in question in the same Georgia Pro font. Place it beside the marker, then add a title to the other side and align it to the right. Place a line stroke beneath, then open the Images tab and search for James Watt. Select the steam engine image and remove the background like so. Next, add a similar section below it, but invert the element so they are on opposite sides. Search for a steam train in the Photos library. Use this one and remove the background like before. You will notice the coloring is mismatched between the two images on the page. Let's fix that. With the train selected, open the Adjustment panel and decrease the saturation parameter until the yellow hue is completely gone. And let's add a hand-drawn arrow to the top section to help balance the overall design. I'll add the texture layer later, so I can continue to work on the layers during the animation stage. Add a new page, and in the Photos library, search for Antique Wood. Find one you like and place it on the edge of the canvas, so it snaps into the background position. Open the Adjustment panel and slightly decrease the saturation to give it that faded antique look. Open the Elements tab and search for Vintage Polaroid Frame. Select this one and place it on the center of the canvas. I couldn't find any relevant images for this section, so I prompted ChatGPT's latest image model to recreate some historical image of the James Watt's steam engine. And it did a pretty good job. For the title, I found a notebook paper image and cropped it into a thin strip, placed the wording over it, and added a layer of texture on top. Next, I created a similar collage scene, but I found a video frame called Film Texture Overlay Frame and added some old train footage I found in the video library. Then I continued the timeline scene by duplicating the previous one and replacing the details to show the Benz patent motor wagon. I also added some quick-fire bullet points taken from my script to balance the page. I then moved onto the final page of the timeline, where I found an image of a Model T Roadster in the Photos library. I then removed the background and flipped in horizontally, so it fits for the animation later. Next, make a collage of some relevant images as they relate to your script. Open a new page, and in the Photos library, search for Old Truck. Select this one and remove the background. Now search for Woman Driving a Truck. Place this one on the canvas, and with the image selected, open the Magic Grab tool. Select the woman and select Grab. Delete the background and resize the figure so it roughly fits in the driving position of the original truck. Duplicate the original truck and place it directly over the other layers. Then crop from top to bottom so it appears as if the figure is sitting inside the vehicle. With the figure selected, open the filter section and give her an X Pro Plus filter for that retro vibe. Open the Elements tab and search for Circular Blur Shadow. Select this one and place it below the truck. Open the Layer panel and move it behind the truck layer. As I was building out this scene, it hit me. Design is really about understanding how things work beneath the surface. And that's exactly what today's sponsor, Brilliant.org, is all about. They've built an amazing platform with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, science, programming, data, and AI. What I love is that it's all problem-solving based. You don't just watch, you're actually doing. Exploring ideas in real time, which makes it stick so much better. I've been diving into their scientific thinking course lately. It's helped me think more like an engineer, which feeds directly into how I approach animation and storytelling. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/liliestechtips or scan the QR code on screen, or you can click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Alright, let's get back to the tutorial. Open the Elements tab and search for Green Tree. Select this one and place it behind the car layer. Now search for Road Sign. Select this one and remove the background. We need to make it longer, so duplicate the image. Crop from top to the bottom of the sign. Hold Shift and move the extra piping to the bottom, so it makes the sign pull longer. Select both layers, group them, and place them behind the truck layer. We will come back to these layers later. Next, open a new page, and in the Photos library, search for Land SUV Car. Select this one and flip it horizontally so it drives in the same direction. With the image selected, open the Magic Grab tool. As you can see, we won't be able to use this tool with a flipped image. Let's fix that. Export the image as a transparent PNG file and re-import to a new page. Now you can open the Magic Grab tool, and as you can see, we can use this tool later for the animation process. Open the Photos library and search for Man Driving Car. Select this one and remove the background like so. Resize to fit in the driver's seat. Crop from the bottom and slightly tilt it so it lines up with the window. At this point, you can decrease the transparency so he appears to be behind the window. Now search for Kids, select this one, and follow the same steps as before. Let's move on to the animated bar chart. You could do this by using the bar chart race function in the Charts app, but I want to have more control over the design, so I am going to animate this one manually. Open a new page and press L to create a line shape, create a duplicate, and rotate by 90 degrees. Duplicate the bottom line multiple times to create grid lines. Select all of the grid lines and decrease the line weight to 1. Press R on your keyboard to create a rectangle shape. Resize like so, and create 2 more duplicates with alternating colors to create U bars. Place a label at the top of each bar like so. Place a title above the chart and a year beneath the x-axis. Now duplicate the page and change the bar height and year as per your data. Repeat this process until you have completed the time frame. Next, create an image like this in an AI image generator of your choice. I have left a prompt in the description. Add a title above the image and change the font to the Louisville 2 font in keeping with the blueprint theme. Search for a hand-drawn arrow in the Elements tab and create some pinpoints around the car like so. Find a newspaper article you need to reference and rebuild it on a new page with the Georgia Pro font or one of your choice. Make sure to group all text layers together so we have one long element to work with later. Go back to the very first page, make a duplicate, and move the new version to the very end. Press R to make a rectangle and change the color to black. Enlarge the shape way past the canvas perimeter, then change the color to a circular gradient. Set both colors to black and set the transparency on the first one to 0. Now keep adding more black colors to the gradient until you are left with a small transparent circle in the middle, like so. Open the Elements tab and search for Magnifying Glass. Select this one and place the glass element over the transparent hole. Select both layers and group them together. At this point, you can change the colors of the gradient to white. Open the Layers panel and place the grid layer on top of the Magnify group like so. For the credits scene, open a new page and set the background color to a darker tone from your palette. Open the video library and search for Car Leaves Home 1950. Place this one on the canvas and crop it to about 2/3, leaving room on the left for the credits. Add the credits, altering the size and color for the title and name. Open the Elements tab and search for Sleek Monochrome Line. Change the color to the primary color from your palette and reposition it like so. Before we start animating, we need to generate a high-quality voiceover to synchronize our scenes too. You can either record your own or use a premium voice from 11 Labs, which is what I have done. You can get started with 11 Labs for free, with a limited number of characters each month. But if you're planning to use professional voices for longer videos, I'd recommend the Starter or Creator plan. If you decide to sign up using my affiliate link below, it really helps support the channel, and I genuinely appreciate it. The voice I selected was Ryan Wells.
Ryan Wells brings stories to life with clarity and warmth.
For the most part, I will paste paragraphs of my script into the text-to-speech section until I have generated my whole voiceover. But I would like to really hone in on that opening sentence so it hits well with my audience. Let's generate it with the default settings.
How do cars shape our world?
Not really what we are looking for, as it's a bit too quick. Let's bring the speed parameter all the way down to the bottom.
How do cars shape our world?
Big improvement. Now let's generate one more as we get 3 free attempts.
How do cars shape our world?
I think I'll go with this one. Import all of the voiceover files into Canva, and now it's finally time to start animating. First, go back to the opening scene and move the texture layer to the back so we can access all of the layers above it. Place the opening voiceover sentence beneath this scene on the timeline, and let's have a quick listen.
How do cars shape our world?
So we need to have the word appear exactly as the words are spoken. For that type of precision, we need to separate the words into individual layers. Duplicate the text layer and reduce the new one down to the first word, how. Place it exactly over the first word, Then hold Alt and move a copy over the next word. Change the wording, reposition, and repeat this process for the rest of the sentence. Right-click on the first word and select Show Element Timing. Adjust the timing so it appears exactly when the voiceover starts. Now select the next word and match it to the voiceover. Repeat until finished. Delete the base text layer and let's preview how that turned out.
How do cars shape our world?
Nice. Place the next section of the voiceover onto the timeline and let's adjust the timing of the scene so it finishes at this point.
We need to go back. Wait.
Select the car image and have it appear just after the opening sentence finishes. Select the top line and give it a wipe animation from right to left at the highest speed. Do the same with the other one in the opposite direction. Have them both activate at the same time just after the car appears. Now select the sideline, give it the same animation, and have it appear just as the top line approaches the end of its animation. Repeat this process for the remaining lines. Copy that line, create a new page, and paste it onto the center. Enlarge the line to the full height of the canvas. Set the page duration to 0.5 of a second, then place a slide transition between the two pages, making sure the direction is set to up. Press Ctrl D to duplicate the page and make 9 more copies. Add the same slide transition between the pages, making sure down is selected. Hold Shift, select all of the short pages, and reset the duration to 0.5 seconds again. Now go through each transition and set the duration to the maximum to ensure a seamless transition between all pages. Open the Elements tab search for Vintage Car Cutout. Select this one and find the page that aligns with the mention of cars in the voiceover.
Way back. Before car.
Create a top-down image of a motorway in your favorite AI image generator. Remove the background and place it on the appropriate page, like so. Keep duplicating more scenes until you get to the word
It all starts here.
Select the first marker on the timeline. Give it a pop animation, making sure On Enter is selected. Then have it appear just when the word Here is said. Select the date text, give it a typewriter animation, and have it appear just after the marker. Give the image a sketch animation. Then give the title an ascend animation using words as the writing style. The pen stroke and arrow can both have a wipe animation, making sure to select On Enter for all animations. Adjust the timing for each element so they appear in sequence and aligned well with the voiceover. At this point, you can duplicate this page, place the second version after the preceding collage scene, and remove all animations like so. Go back to the original version and delete the second set of elements. Adjust the duration so that the collage page appears at the appropriate section of the voiceover. Now adjust the timing of the remaining images in the collage to appear with the appropriate cues. Give each image a tumble animation. Do the same with the paper cutout title and give the text layer a typewriter animation, so by this point you should have the grasp on how to animate through the next timeline and collage scene. So to avoid repeating myself, let's move quickly through these scenes to get to the next animation technique. By the way, if you want this whole template file, including all of the custom assets I have used, you can find them on my Patreon. That way, you can follow along more easily or even use elements and animations for your own projects. So let's open the final scene in our timeline, which includes the Model T image. Open a new page, place a copy of the car onto it, and export it as a transparent PNG so we can use the Magic Studio tools as it's a flipped image. Place the new version back on the timeline scene and ensure it sits directly over the original. Open the Magic Grab tool and select the brush. Increase the brush size so it covers exactly the diameter of the outer wheel. Make sure it's centered. Click once so it's a near perfect circle, then select Grab. Now do the same with the other wheel. Select the first wheel and in the Animations panel, scroll down to the Add-in Effects and give it a rotation animation at the highest speed. Do the same to the other wheel. Place a guideline along the base of the wheels, then jump onto the next scene of the vintage truck and make sure it aligns with the Model T to ensure consistency. Make the same alterations to the wheels on this image. The only difference with this one is you will need to match the Magic Grab brush size to the inner circumference of the wheel, since the outer is not visible. Go back to the Model T scene and select the dashed line and give it a wipe animation, making sure On Exit is selected. Do the same with the other timeline elements. Add a slide transition between the two pages with left to right direction and set the duration to 1.5 seconds. Set the animated wheels on the Model T to appear just as the transition activates. Now set the timeline elements to exit just before the transition. And let's have a quick preview of how this looks so far. Nice. Time to start animating the passing trees and road signs. First, let's add another guideline as the base for both objects. Place both objects out of view, but make sure to leave a few pixels on screen. With the tree layer selected, open the animation panel and select the custom animation function. Hold Shift to ensure a straight line and drag the tree from right to left like so. Under Movement Styles, select Steady to get rid of any jerky movements. And let's increase the speed parameter substantially to give the impression of high speed. Adjust the start timing so it appears just after the transition has completed. Now do the same with the road sign and make sure to set the timing to come in later in the scene. You can duplicate these elements and adjust timing if you need to repeat them. Now zoom into the driver layer and give her a custom animation. This time, when drawing the path, nudge the element up and down to give the impression of a bumpy road. Adjust the duration of the scene so the SUV scene appears on the work
It got bigger. It got bigger.
We won't include a transition here to give a match cut effect. Make the same wheel animations to the SUV layer. Copy some of the tree and sign layers from the previous scene and adjust timings accordingly.
Bigger, faster, louder. It shaped how we lived.
Open the Photos library and search for row houses. Select this one and remove the background like so. Enlarge it slightly, then make a duplicate and group them both together. Give it a custom animation, just like the trees, and make sure it starts when the voiceover says, "It shaped how we lived." Make a duplicate and have the next one activate directly after the first one by adjusting the timing bar like this. Next, search for Photo of City. Select this one. Remove the background and enlarge it so it covers the full height of the canvas. Group it and animate it directly after the houses have finished.
How we lived, where we worked.
Adjust the duration of the page so the next scene lands directly on
But.
Add a new page. Press T on your keyboard and place this word directly in the middle with some grids included in the corners. Add a slide transition to bring us to the bar charts.
We built our cities, but it also shaped something else. Air pollution.
Add a match and move transition between all of the chart layers with a 1.5 second duration. Select all of the layers and set the duration to 2 seconds. Give the year titles a typewriter animation, making sure both is selected. Then adjust the timing so they animate in and out between the transitions.
Something else. Air pollution, congestion, communities divided by endless roads.
Next scene, give the car layer a sketch animation and have the other layers appear when appropriate. Select the newspaper group layer from the next scene and give it a baseline animation at a slow speed. Open the Elements tab and search for Colorful Highlight Marker. Select this one and place it over the text you would like to highlight. We don't want it to be too thick, so instead of enlarging it, make a duplicate and layer it over the original to cover the required area. Place another single version in the line below. Give the top group a wipe animation from left to right. Give the second one the same animation and adjust the timing accordingly. Duplicate the page and reposition the text group layer to highlight a new piece of text. Place a match and move transition between the two pages with a 1.5 second duration. Add another highlighter to the second page where required, then adjust the timing of the highlighters on both pages so they activate outside of the transition. Copy the magnifying glass group layer from the next page and place it below all other layers on the last article scene. Move it all the way down so none of the elements are visible on the page. Now duplicate the page, move the article to the very top out of view, and move the magnifying glass layer up. Now let's delete the top layer from the page. Select all of the layers in the position panel, copy them, and paste them onto the previous page. Move all layers below the magnifying layer, except for the grid layers. Select the magnifying group from the Layers panel and give it a custom animation. Draw a swirly line as if to be searching for something, and give it a steady movement style at a slow speed. Duplicate the page and enlarge the magnifying glass so the outer rim is bigger than the canvas. Place a match and move transition between the two pages at a 2-second duration. Adjust the timing of the magnifying group in the second page so it ends just as the transition finishes. Give it a fade transition at the slowest speed, making sure On Exit is selected. At this point, you can select the text layer from the opening title and set it to Exit Animate as the transition finishes also. We can fine-tune the timing and animations when we add sound design later, so don't worry if it's slightly rough at this stage. Duplicate the title layer and add the new version, timing it so it appears after the other one finishes. For the credit scene, you can give the text layer a merge animation. At this point, you can go back over all of the scenes and add texture layers where preferred. Next, we will move on to music and sound design, which will be my next tutorial. If I have finished the sound design tutorial for this animation, you can watch that here. Otherwise, you can check out my full documentary editing playlist here, which covers all the popular styles like Johnny Harris and Magnates Media. Until next time.